Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this community briefing on COVID-19 and our community's response. First off, I'd like to say thank you to Francis Bovaraj for being here once again today to provide services to our residents who are tuning in. We want to remind everyone that in addition to these briefings, you can learn more at covid19.lincoln.ne.gov. That's our website where you can find out more information about how to protect yourself, your loved ones, and our community. That site also includes information provided in multiple languages besides English. Today we have 6 new cases of people with COVID-19 reported in Lincoln. That brings the total number of lab-confirmed cases of people with COVID-19 in our city to 45. All 6 of the new cases were community-acquired, and the total number of people who acquired COVID-19 with no travel history or no known exposure to the virus is now at 27. At this time, I would like to invite Interim Health Director Pat Lopez to provide more details on the investigations that are being done by our local health department.
Of the 6 new cases today, 1 is a child under the age of 19, 1 is a female in her 30s, there's another female in her 40s, and there are 2 females in their 50s and an additional female in her 60s. Along with the 45 lab-confirmed cases, we have 1 death that we reported yesterday. We now have 1,287 negative tests and currently have 18 pending results from the public health lab. The health department is also currently monitoring 104 individuals due to travel history or exposure. Nebraska now has 570 cases and 14 deaths.
Thank you, Director Lopez. Earlier this afternoon, along with Francis, I participated in Governor Ricketts' daily briefing at the state capitol, and I was there to reinforce the incredibly important message that the actions we take during the next 3 weeks are critical to stifling the spread of COVID-19 in our community. I want to repeat some of the key practices that focus on staying home to keep Nebraska healthy. And the first one, of course, is to do just that, stay at home. Refrain from non-essential errands or gatherings. Next is to work from home if possible and to use the 6-foot physical distancing rules in your workplaces. Next is to shop alone and only shop once a week. Don't bring the family to the grocery store. Wear a face covering when you're out in public. And help your kids stay home too. Kids should play at home. No group sports and no playgrounds right now. All playgrounds in Lincoln remain closed. You can help seniors stay at home by shopping for them. Visit them through email and phone or text, but don't visit them in person right now. It's important to exercise, but when you do, please observe the physical distancing. Keep 6 feet away from others. People are finding many creative ways to stay connected through virtual book club meetings, virtual birthday parties, and even weddings. Holidays, especially those as significant as Easter and Passover, Ramadan, and many other religious and cultural occasions, may find themselves presented with special challenges. We all understand, of course, the importance of sharing these special occasions with others, but it's really important right now that we celebrate safely. Observing these holidays at home with those in your immediate household is the best way to keep your family safe. And while we're all practicing social distancing, we do not have to practice spiritual distancing. Discouraging in-person gatherings is not a suspension of worship. Many faith communities are offering virtual services, which is an excellent way to participate as a community. We've also had a lot of calls about drive-in services in parking lots where people participate in worship from their cars. If you do decide to attend one of these services, it's important that only members of your immediate household are in your car. Cars should, at the service, be parked at least 6 feet apart from each other, and you need to stay in your cars. No mingling with other folks who've arrived or with officiants or anyone else in the congregation. Health professionals also advise that faith communities email their bulletins, song lyrics, and other items and encourage online offerings instead of passing anything between cars. The State Department of Health and Human Services has posted a very helpful FAQ for faith-based communities. We have that posted now on our city website at covid19.lincoln.ne.gov, and we encourage you to look at that. Sacrificing in-person gatherings is, of course, difficult. We encourage you to think of it as an expression of love for the members of your congregation, or your neighbors, and your community. It won't always be this way. Today, another focus of these new physical distancing guidelines presented some new challenges for our community. But I am proud to share that our community leaders have been hard at work to overcome these challenges and to find solutions to address the needs of some of the most vulnerable members of our community. Last week, the People's City Mission established a new area next to their existing facility to house those who do not have symptoms of COVID-19, but who have had possible exposure. This new space will allow individuals to self-monitor for symptoms of COVID-19, fever, shortness of breath, sore throat. The self-quarantine area has a capacity of 12 beds, separate from the general population of the Mission shelter. If an individual begins to develop symptoms, staff will assist them in getting tested. I want to really thank a couple of people in particular. State Senator Anna Wishart, the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department, and the Mission all worked quickly, very quickly, to bring together the resources to make this happen. This would also not have been possible without generous gifts from donors to purchase needed supplies to stand up the new facility. I want to acknowledge and welcome today State Senator Anna Wishart, who's here via Zoom. She's going to share a little bit more information about the role that she played and the work that she did in conjunction with others in our community to make this adaptation, important safety adaptation, possible. With that, I'll hand it over to you, State Senator Wishart.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor. Can you see and hear me all right? Well, thank you, and thanks to everybody, all Nebraskans and Lincolnites. I'm really impressed with how everybody has banded together to support each other. You know, across the state and across our city, a lot of people are following the directions to stay at home to save lives, but there are a lot of people in our city, men, women, and children, who don't have that option because they don't have a home. And so we are so lucky in this city to have the City Mission. It's a long-standing institution, and we're lucky to have the leadership of Pastor Tom Barber leading the City Mission as well, providing shelter to people who are the most vulnerable citizens in our community. 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to tour the City Mission, working with a team on the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department to start to set up a self-quarantine area. And I am amazed at how quick the City Mission and the City of Lincoln and the county were able to put together a place where people who are sheltering and making sure they need to stay away from the general population in case they do test positive are able to do so in comfort and feeling safe and getting the health care they need. I also want to do a quick shout out to the generous contributions of 3 different entities. A shout out to Jared with the Hormel Harris Foundation for your generous donation. They were able to do that within a week, and we are so grateful to them. Another big thank you to AT&T for their generous contribution. Again, they were able to, within a week, turn that donation around to support the City Mission. And I also want to thank Lincoln Costco for their donations of supplies to help support this self-quarantine center. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so much for your quick, decisive actions to help marshal those resources. In addition to the value of creating a self-quarantine space at the People's City Mission, we know how important it is to establish greater physical distance between individuals at the shelter in order to stop the potential spread of a virus. To accomplish this goal, the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department created a community task force to develop a plan to address the needs of women and children experiencing homelessness in Lincoln. I'm happy to share that yesterday, 13 families living at the Mission were relocated into safe alternative housing. These families included 15 adults and 35 children, 12 of them 3 years old and under. Volunteers are providing free meals to these families that will be distributed twice a week. And here to tell more about the work that was done to make this important adaptation for our community members possible is Lori Seibel from the Community Health Endowment. Lori, thank you so much for your work to get this done.
It's been a pleasure, Mayor, and thank you for just a moment to talk about the work of the task force and the amazing work that they've done just this past few days. But first of all, I want to thank the Mayor's Office. I want to thank the Lincoln-Lancaster County Health Department for your foresight in addressing the needs of homeless women and children during this time. This group of individuals came together during the last week to formulate and implement a plan that has really provided a safe and welcoming place for these families. So I want to give a special thank you to the city staff who were part of this task force: City Councilman James Michael Bowers, Mayoral Aide Adele Burke, Chris Connolly from the City Attorney's Office, Steve Beal from the Lincoln-Lancaster County Health Department. All were of incredible help in this process. But I will say that these relocation efforts would not have been possible without the amazing work of the folks at the Community Action Partnership, people like Vicey and Jill Bomberger, Michelle Martinez, as well as the staff from the People's City Mission, specifically Amy Pappas and Pastor Tom Barber. And then there are other people, like you mentioned, Lincoln Berean Church is providing food boxes to all of these families for the coming weeks as they relocate to this new space. A member of my board, the Community Health Endowment, Janice Walker, along with Maureen Osei and the Lincoln Quilt Guild, sewed 60 masks for these families at literally a moment's notice, and we're grateful to them. And while we're not specifically naming the place where the families have been relocated in order to protect their privacy and their safety, I do want you to know that they have been amazing, an amazing partner with us, and they will be acknowledged publicly in the future. So, you know, Mayor, we all know there are a lot of people doing incredible selfless work, and this is just one example of that. But Lincoln continues to amaze me, and thank you, Mayor, for your leadership in efforts like this across our city.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Senator Wishart, and thank you to all the partners.
And the task force members who acted quickly to protect some of the most vulnerable members of our community and help thereby protect all of us in Lincoln from the spread of COVID-19. And I want to really reassure everyone that this incredible work will continue. Our work is not done. There are still a number of individuals living at the Mission, and our community task force recognizes the need to continue to increase physical distance for those individuals who remain in order to, again, reduce the potential for spread of a virus in that close living setting. The task force will continue to develop a plan to ensure that that physical distancing occurs. And we thank the People's City Mission for all of their hard work to serve under normal circumstances, and particularly during these challenging ones. And with that, I'd like to conclude with some good news. During this time of physical isolation, it's more important than ever to still find ways to stay connected and enjoy the things we love, and that includes music. An online music festival called Lincoln Strong is kicking off today with performances from local musicians Joey Plunkett and Emily Bass. This online festival has been organized by musician Jack Rodenberg and will feature 2 performers each Thursday in April at 6 p.m. and at 7 p.m. And you can watch these performances live streamed on Facebook by visiting the Lincoln Strong Facebook page. In addition to keeping us entertained and lifting our spirits, the festival will raise funds for local musicians, bars, and restaurants affected by the pandemic. They'll be collecting donations using Venmo with the username Lincoln Strong, no space. So thank you to all the musicians who are taking part in this virtual concert series that give us something to enjoy during our time at home, and also an opportunity to support those who are impacted, our restaurants, our bars, our musicians and artists, to support those who are impacted right now by this pandemic. The Lead Center is also finding ways to continue sharing art and music in our community. The Lead Live online series is streaming free performances live on Facebook. This Saturday at 7:30 p.m., you can watch flamenco guitarist Daniel Martinez perform online, and he is worth watching, let me tell you. And other additional artists will be performing throughout April. For more information, you can visit leadcenter.org/live or follow the Lead Center for Performing Arts on Facebook. The Tada Theater in the Haymarket is also featuring a series of performances on its Facebook page. Tada's Talent Tonight features some of the best performers in Lincoln every night at 6 p.m. So check out Tada's Talent Tonight on their Facebook page. And finally, our local restaurants have apparently discovered that the way to our police department's heart is food. And I want to thank El Potrero for providing lunch at our main police station yesterday. And with that, we'd like to open up for questions from the media.
Riley from the Journal Star. I'll take the first stab. I had a question for Director Lopez.
All right, should be right up.
Good afternoon, Riley.
Hi, Pat. What has the number of cases now that we're kind of getting to have a healthy number of them in terms of positives and negatives? What has the sort of rate of positives told you about the local transmission of coronavirus?
Well, I know that this rate is still that the rate is growing. I I think we can also be assured that it's going to continue to grow because we're now getting more tests in, and even with the outside labs, we're almost getting a 48-hour turnaround. So we'll be calculating, working more on these tests as we go. But our curve is slowly moving, but it's not rising. We're still trying to keep it as flat as possible, and I think the measures that the mayor talked about today are really going to help us.
And does the city and its modeling have a similar curve peak to the state's overall anticipated peak of kind of the last week of April?
We're looking towards that week, but we're staying on a lower trend. We're much more compressed in our city than the rest of the state is.
Director Lopez, this is Bill Schammert with 1011. With 27 cases of community spread out of the 45, that's 60%. Is there concern that there's probably a lot more cases in Lincoln that we just don't know about right now?
I think we've always been concerned because of the limited testing, that there's more cases that haven't been diagnosed yet. As more testing becomes available, and I would encourage people to go to the St. E's website or the Bryan website and sign up. They can get a physician's order and have testing since we have more tests available. But I'm glad you asked that, Bill, because the important thing about it is it's telling us that we need to take these measures to be stay safe and stay at home, use the social distancing, to keep ourselves and act in every instance that if there's the potential that we're in an environment where somebody may unknowingly be positive.
Pat, I have a question here from Channel 8. Are people who died at home being tested for COVID-19? If not, why not? And if things get worse, could that change?
I'm not aware of any concern about anybody being tested at home that has died. I'd have to find out the correct information. I just learned a little bit more about that today, and so I've been doing some investigation, and I'll be able to answer that question later.
Other questions?
Mayor Riley from the Journal Star here. The homeless population, is a shelter operating now not at capacity because of the sort of relocation of some of the families staying there? Or can you speak to the kind of the capacity at the shelter?
That's a better question for the People's City Mission, or is Steve Beal, who's been working on this project as part of leading the task force, could maybe speak to that as well. We certainly want to make sure that we have the right physical distancing in the shelter. That is not something that is a normal set of operating circumstances for the shelter. And so this effort that will continue to try to space people out appropriately to protect their health and safety is a focus of the Lincoln and Lancaster County Health Department. But Steve Beal is here. He can give you a little more information if you want to know more about how this has come about.
Thank you, Mayor. Riley, I believe your question is, are they functioning at capacity? Is that what you asked?
Yes.
By being able to relocate over 50 women, children, and family into an alternate area, that did alleviate a lot of what would be normally a filled shelter area for women. And so while they're not at capacity, that's not necessarily something we want to have as a goal. Our goal, again, being to try and move people out so that we can increase distancing of those that are there and mitigate anything that might be a COVID type of infection within the mission.
And a follow-up to that, is that sort of special separate center for those that are symptomatic or maybe symptomatic, is that inside the existing structure of the People's City Mission, or is it a temporary like stand-up type of unit?
It's a bricks and mortar building, and it is separate from the main shelter building. It's about 50 feet or so approximately from the main shelter building. So it is a standalone area where we can, again, quarantine individuals, and those that normally provide meals for the guests within the main building will also do that, and those will be taken in to that quarantine area as well. So it is a separate building.
Thank you.
Yes.
Director Lopez, this is Bill with 1011 again. A follow-up on my previous question. You had mentioned encouraging everybody to go to CHI's website to try and get tested. Are you saying that we are not at testing capacity right now, that there's actually room for more people to apply for, get a doctor's referral, and get tested per day?
Well, we still want to focus on those critical populations, our first responders, our healthcare providers, our older adults, or people with existing health conditions, our nursing home. But if you are having other symptoms, there is some spacing with your doctor's order that you may be able to sign up and get into testing. So if you go to the St. East site and fill out the questionnaire, they'll be able to assess that and provide you the correct direction. So we're encouraging people to do that.
Are there any other questions from the media? Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today and helping us to get out the message about how people can stay safe and keep Nebraska healthy. We will be back here tomorrow at 3:30, and thanks again to Lori Seibel and State Senator Anna Wishart for joining us on this Zoom community briefing, and thank you, Francis. Take care. Stay well, Lincoln.